sentencing of the disgraced crypto king, Sam Bankman-Fried, and the first ever global summit on artificial intelligence. It's been a huge week for tech news. So joining me on the set is our technology editor, Peter O'Brien. Hello to you, Peter. What can you tell us about the surprising links between these two events, SBF and the UK's AI summit? What do they have in common?
Yeah, I was wondering how we could link these two together. And actually, there's a simple way to do it. You may not have heard of it, but it's the social movement called effective altruism. It's boffin-filled and it's increasingly powerful. Now, that power took a hit when Sam Bankman-Fried, the most high-profile effective altruist and one of the movement's biggest donors, fell from grace. But as we've seen from the AI summit in Bletchley Park this week, we can see that effective altruist talking points are still making their way up the policy agenda. One in particular, the potential for artificial intelligence to cause catastrophic harm, a risk that would not be on the policy table at all were it not for the work of effective altruists. Now, I should add a disclaimer here that I've been briefly involved in the movement in France and donate to some charities that are popular among effective altruists.
Now, how did we get to the point where effective altruism is producing one of the biggest frauds in history? It's also becoming a major policy debate.
So the only way to really explain this is to take you back through the intellectual history of the movement. So the founding idea of effective altruism is simple and it's persuasive. In order to do the most good with your time and money, you shouldn't just think about your close circle of friends and family. You shouldn't just think about your community, your country. You should really be taking into consideration all humans in the world because of one simple fact: we all suffer in a similar way. A classic example of putting this into practice would be, rather than donating money to your local fire station, it would be using the same amount to buy much more mosquito nets to protect people from malaria abroad. That's a classic. But rather than just caring about humans, effective altruists quickly realize that the same principle should be applied to anything that can suffer, right? So that could be an animal, that could be a wild animal, that could even be a human not alive today, but in the future. So that's where we get to this situation where there are lots of effective altruists today who are also long-termists. That means people who are concerned with the welfare of humans and animals that don't yet exist, but could exist in the future.
It sounds very utilitarian. Peter, what about the concerns about artificial intelligence?
Yeah, so this reason is exactly why effective altruists were concerned with AI long before it became a big topic of public discussion this year. They were thinking, well, if there's lots of humans alive in the future, potentially billions of us, if we make some sort of mistake with artificial intelligence now, or if it's developed in the near future in the wrong way, it could affect billions of humans, even to the extent that it could enslave us and could kill us all. That's how their thinking goes. So the effective altruism community, made up of mostly young men from elite universities in the UK and the US, were very well placed to found AI research institutes and Silicon Valley companies. 80,000 Hours is an effective altruist career guidance website, and to this day it recommends AI safety research and AI governance as two of its highest impact careers for effective altruists to get involved with. So in turn, effective altruists then produced some of the most influential figures and organizations in AI, which have shifted the public policy debate towards the question of existential risk when it comes to AI. Some of these organizations will deny that they're in any way effective altruism affiliated, but if you look at their members, employees, donors, you will see a lot of people who subscribe to these ideas. Take, for example, Anthropic AI. The CEO, Dario Amodei, was at the summit in the UK this week. That was founded when the more effective altruism-minded people left OpenAI, the company behind ChatGPT, and Anthropic now has its own highly sought-after chatbot called Claude, and it received, you'll start to see the links here, a $500 million investment from Sam Bankman-Fried, crypto exchange FTX, before it went bankrupt.
So did Bankman-Fried think what he was doing was really altruistic?
Well, of course, we'll never know what was in his head. And this is where we get to the really knotty part of it. Obviously, with SBF's downfall, now complete, save for his sentencing, which looks to be very severe, effective altruism was introduced to a much wider public. That's been reputationally catastrophic for a movement that, of course, prides itself on doing good. And one of the most common criticisms now of the movement is that it's all too easily co-opted as an excuse to do bad things today, to achieve some far-flung far-flung aim of, for instance, earning a lot of money with no guarantees that this money will be used for altruistic ends. And the reputational knock, though, as I mentioned earlier, hasn't really been enough to for effective altruism not to remain a very influential voice on AI, as I've described. But I should caveat that it remains a movement. It remains a movement with diverse and changing opinions, and many effective altruists are exasperated that by people who say that AI poses an existential or catastrophic threat, but yet seem determined to continue to develop it. That's not just including companies like OpenAI, Anthropic, Elon Musk, but now, as we've seen from Bletchley Park this week and what politicians are saying, it seems like a lot of countries like the UK and China are thinking about AI in the same way as well.
All right, Peter, thank you very much for that. Peter O'Brien, our technology editor.